My First Night as a Vampire. Original work by auntieW and JakNekon. You don't know me, not my name, nor my face, but I'll know you. I'll see you coming, and you'll be mine. Black boots. I remember black boots. Not too much else of my sire. Streetlights shone off the slick pavement, recently wet with rain. The city streets weren't exactly empty, but very few were out walking that night. My headphones may have been to blame. I heard nothing but the heavy electric guitar riffs of System of a Down. My feet moved along these with assurance, past the apartments and shops I knew so well. Past them 1,000 times without paying them any notice. I didn't have a purse that night, just a wad of cash stuffed in my jean pocket. My dark hair was tied back in a knot, and around my neck I wore a leather string with a shell dangling from it, a memento from a recent trip to the ocean. I had that prickly feeling on my skin that there was something ominous on that street, that night, that moment. But we all ignore those warnings, don't we? Not now. Not ever again. He must have been standing there a while, watching and waiting, with the practiced patience learned over years, a predator's patience. It could have been anybody, I know that now, but I didn't then, and for a long time I blamed myself. I played the what-if game countless times. What if I hadn't stayed late at work? What if I hadn't walked down that street? The what-ifs kept mounting as I made kill after kill, until I wanted to die myself. But it's funny, life, any life, is better than death, at least to me, the living dead girl as I think of myself these days, better than the final death. I never saw him come up behind me, never saw anything at all until my face hit the cement of the alleyway pavement. My lower lip split and I lost a tooth from the force of his attack. I thought I heard him laugh as the blood poured from my mouth. I felt him bundle up his fists on the back of my shirt and lift me up to stand upright. Barely a heart's beat passed as he enfolded me in the darkest of embraces, shoved me up against the side of the brick building behind me. I felt its rough grooved surface scratch my skin through my t-shirt. His face, obscured by poor lighting of the alley, or some preternatural skill, lowered to mine with a single bloody kiss. Then he gripped my chin, turned it to the side, and without hesitation, bit deep into the artery at my neck, sending into his mouth warm rivers of blood. I thought at that moment, that's what a shark attack feels like. The inability to control anything, neither the beast nor the tide, the feel of razor-sharp teeth tearing through fragile human flesh. For a moment only your body screams with the pain of it, and then it passes. Over the years I have come to believe that there is a kind of natural or chemical sedative that travels with the saliva at the time of our puncture, resulting in a calm that comes over the victim. It's happened to mine time and again. My body was crushed against the brick wall in the alley, his hated arms both supporting me and holding me captive. Then, as swiftly as the attack occurred, it ended, and he withdrew arms and fangs. His body moved off mine, and I felt the cool night air hit me like a baseball bat as I collapsed to the alley floor. That was where he left me, slowly bleeding to death. We must have made quite a racket, my sire and I, because heartbeats later, I saw the blue and red lights of a marked police car, shattering the darkness and filling me with hope. Then my eyes finally closed. That was the last time I had looked at the world as a human female. I am often sad about that. My last memory with eyes when I still had a soul to appreciate things was a dirty alley filled with last month's trash and yesterday's newspaper, blowing back and forth in a dirty breeze. I was given a transfusion at a local clinic and a bed. I woke within an hour of arriving there, no longer me, and Walked out of the place, hospital gown and all, vanishing into the night. And now here I stand in that selfsame spot, waiting for you to pass by, unawares, unafraid, and I will pounce. Make no mistake. Chapter 2. Penny at the Rooster Blues bar. Okay, so I lost more than a tooth that first night. I lost my soul as well. And the damn tooth grew back, but unfortunately the soul did not. I had so much to deal with all at once, I nearly killed myself. The losses seemed insurmountable as they began to add up. Loss of my home, family, friends, job, lifestyle, God, everything. In one attack in a dirty alleyway, I had lost absolutely everything. All I could think of was the desire to find and kill my sire. The hospital was not too far from my apartment, so I went back up the back and broke in through a window overlooking the fire escape. I laughed at the irony. I was breaking into my own life, so now a stranger to me. Okay, I admit it, I knew something had happened, seen the movies, read the books. I still couldn't bring myself to accept it and take it all in. Then something happened to bring it all home, real, tangible. My cat showed up for his nightly feeding and shrieked like a tiny banshee racing up the fire escape to the safety of his other home. Watching the little guy who curled up on me night after night treat me like his worst nightmare made flesh. Maybe that's the first time it hit me that my home was as dead as I was. I knew that I needed to find a place to live where it wasn't going to be known by my neighbors, but first and foremost, I needed to feed. The hunger was now in full force upon me. I trashed out a bloody hospital gown, showered quickly, and dressed to go out. I tried like hell to look attractive, even though I felt like hammered shit. I was shaking by the time I reached the first hole-in-the-wall club, the sign reading, Rooster Blues, live bands till 2 a.m. It was a local club for local bands and local drunks. Set in one of the sleaziest parts of town, sandwiched in between drug dealers, housing projects, and the L train overhead. If you're interested, it's over on Westlake. I'll watch your back and your neck if I'm out hunting that night. My watch said 11 p.m. I stepped up to the bouncer, who said, "No charge hot for ladies." I nodded sweetly and thought, how about demons? The club was smoky and foggy, a regular supply of both being created by patrons and a fog machine. The place was oddly Gothic. Red walls, black curtains, red and white strobe lights, dim as hell. Funny, I actually felt uncomfortable there. I walked up to the bar as a hard rock band, Stone Jones, took the stage. Everywhere couples were rocking to the music and holding each other in the dark. The air stunk of liquor. I grabbed a club soda left there, took a glass, and sat down in the back, waiting for as hunger grew, and sweat trickled down my back. Then I felt a hand on my shoulder and a whisper in my ear. Dinner had arrived. I didn't even have to look around. Appearances didn't matter. I simply nodded and stood up. We moved, unnoticed, to the back, to the single-stall men's bathroom, stepped inside and locked the door. It was time to feed. Later, I came to learn this was the absolute wrong thing to do. There was no way to escape a place like this with a dead body in tow. But leaving it left police evidence behind, and you run the risk of being found out. Hitchhikers, homeless, prostitutes, deserted roads. Those were the right ways to feed. Serial killers knew that, and kidnappers too. Get the victim alone, and where you can control the situation as much as possible. But not that night. Not with my first kill. I didn't even ask his name. He didn't seem to need mine as he pulled down his jeans and lifted me to sit on that rusted sink. He was hard already as he unbuttoned his jeans and let him slide to the ground. Did I always have to fuck him? I didn't know the answer then. My own sire sure didn't have me. But how then did you get close to them and have them be willing? I learned later that the prey didn't need to be willing. I could overpower them all. Mostly all. I've had a few exceptions where I nearly got killed, but that's a tale for a different night. The hunger had reached a critical point, what I have come to call red vision, when all I could see is the color crimson. The step after that, I have been told, leads to total madness. I pulled my lips away from his and began to kiss his neck. He groaned in pleasure. On instinct, my eye teeth descended into fangs, and I bit down into the largest, ropey one of the lines on his neck, hoping I could hit the carotid. I didn't. He screamed, and it thankfully blended with the sounds coming from the club on the other side of the door. I drank anyways. I could not be stopped, and his fist smashed into the mirror behind me. Then a calm came over him, and he collapsed heavily into my arms. I finished quickly. He was dead. Ugh, dead and still hard. I shoved him off and left the club through a back door to the kitchen. As police cars sped down by the street, some unlucky person must have found the body. I had taken my first of many human lives. His wallet had $100 in it, so I took that too. Penny, Chapter 3. Time passed, as time does. My days and nights were becoming routine in their own twisted way. Sleep out the daylight hours in the sewers below the city that never sleeps, or if I needed comfort, in a safe house on DeWald. I spent the nights hunting, and in between trying to live like a normal girl as much as possible, foolishly clinging to the old life. I actually tried to get a job, just to pass the time. Night clerk, graveyard shift, mini-mart. Bad idea. I ended up being the liquor delivery man. I tried teaching night school. Another ridiculously bad idea. As the would-be rapist football student who pretended he just wanted to drive me home also got axed. I was lonely, very lonely, and had fallen into a deep depression, barely rousing myself to feed. Hating my sire, missing my sire. Then I had a brilliant idea. Go visit my family in Chicago, my still living brother and sister. With no real concept of the passage of time, I drove down there in one of my victims' rusted-out Ford shitboxes, with windows I tinted for the trip. I drove all night, slept all day, and only stopped to feed. I made it in 2 days. I headed straight for my sister's house and pulled up at the dinner hour to the front door I knew so well. But the family that was inside when I peeked through the window was not them. My sister had moved. My brother and his wife lived the next suburb over, hopefully. This time I went round the back alley and parked. I used blood magic to approach the house in secrecy. It was them. But when did this happen? When did they have 3 kids? I backed away from the window, unable to bear it any longer, as tears streamed down my face. That life was now lost to me forever. I cried nearly the entire ride back to New York, feeling like Peter Pan who returned from Neverland, only to find his family had locked the window against him and moved on, had another son, closing the door on him forever. So like Peter, it was back to Neverland for me, and the crazed half-life I now called mine. After that night, the point of no return had been reached. It was time to take steps to embrace fully my undead life. So the question came up, what did I need to do now? Well, for a start, this blood magic stuff, I needed help with that. A vampire mate, I definitely couldn't need help with that too. Okay, there was my friend Ryan DeLeon, or Ryan the Lion in English, proprietor of an occult bookstore by day, vicious blood drinker by night, glad to call him a friend. He offered to help me once, and so I headed there. The store, the Lion's Parlor, was deceptively quiet. I went around to the back door and knocked. The security camera spun around, taking a wide-angle shot of my face, and the door buzzed me in. Ryan stood there leaning against the wall. "Hey, beautiful. Long time no see." I smiled. "You too," and greeted him with a warm hug. "Fed yet?" he asked graciously. "I have warm blood in stock." I nodded and said, "Yes, please, and some of your time if you have it." "All my time tonight is yours, Penny." I sighed in relief. Over the highball glasses of blood we talked. I told him everything, and he listened with all his heart. Damn, he would have been a great mate. Sarissa would have killed me for even thinking that, though. "Well, I could introduce you to Elizabeth. She's an easy teacher. But she will soon be mentoring someone else I sent her, so you only have a month's time." "Perfect," was all I said. I took the address he wrote down for me and about to leave when he said, "Want to go to the Vampires' Ball, October 31st? He laughed, and for the first time I nodded yes. "Good girl. Turning over a new leaf looks good on you. Now go. I'll tell Liz to expect you." The next night I sat on a stone table in Elizabeth's ritual room. She was a priestess of sorts, very powerful and very kind. Her dojo, as I called it, was actually an abandoned stone church, ironically enough. We discussed what I wanted to get out of the month with her and what she expected in return. A bargain was struck and a payment was cash. One catch: I had to move in so that no time was wasted. We trained in areas you yourself, dear vampire readers, can already guess. Blood magic arts of seduction, suggestion, obfuscation, levitation, and animal kinship. She also taught me basic survival skills and hand-to-hand combat, even firearms. I was like a newborn to her. When the month was up, I had learned the basics, or as she put it, enough to probably survive, and left with the tools to advance if I practiced. On the final night, she asked to share blood with me. I'd never done that before. "It's not sexual, dear. It's fundamental. You and I will share a bond, and I will be your blood sister for real." I nodded and offered up my wrist. She shook her head no, pulling me into her arms and drinking from my neck. I don't care what she said. I didn't like women, but this was definitely pretty erotic to me. I pressed up against her, moving on instinct alone. She pushed me back. She withdrew her teeth only long enough to whisper, "Be still, little one," and then resumed drinking my life's blood. I closed my eyes and let my hands drop to my side. I fed from her in the same way, my first blood share, my first and last female ever. But then it was over, and she withdrew again from me, my pathetic little life, and I was standing outside all of it alone again. Penny, Chapter 4. The concert was unreal. Rob Zombie kicked ass, and I nearly outed my vampire self when he performed what I think of as my theme songs, Tragula and Living Dead Girl. Poor guy would have pissed himself, I'm sure. But there was one there who caught my attention, always on the prowl as I was for a vampire male. Miguel sat 2 seats over in the same row, spent the whole night staring at me. I was flattered. He was beautiful, dark hair, tattoos and piercings, hypnotic blue eyes. Surely he had to be Nightbreed. He ditched his friends and followed me out to the parking lot after the show. I wanted him too. He stepped up close and pushed me up against the car door with his warm body. A mate at last. And to my shock, he wasn't a vampire, just a punked-out goth rocker. No, no, no. I didn't want to kill him. We wanted sex now, but I also wanted blood. Maybe I could just bite him a little. Could I stop? Would I? I never tried that before. Here, I asked, blood pounding, heart pounding. No, leave your car. We'll take mine to my place. I nodded and followed him as he led me by the hand. His place wasn't far, and he immediately showed me to the bedroom. He stepped out, and I began to undress. I picked up the black silk nightgown he left for me. It smelled of another female. I dropped it. He was married? I went over to the drawers, didn't find anything interesting. Opened the closet, and taped on the inside door was a sea of faces staring back at me, all with the notice underneath: missing. See, you found my gallery. I'll need a picture of you too. He launched at me, wielding his favorite knife, planning to gut me. Victim number 12. Too bad for him, as I deflected the blade, and he only succeeded in slicing open my arm. I caught him by the neck and snapped it cleanly, dead in a heartbeat. He was a serial killer just like me. I smelled his current victim in the basement, locked up. I headed down below. A handsome man, painfully so, a bit haggard from his incarceration. But I was hungry. I ate him and fled the scene. I didn't feel like going home, so I just jumped the fence at the Bronx Zoo. I often did that at night, and though cliché, yes, I like to hang out at the bat exhibit. As I turned the corner, I spotted someone else doing the same thing, only at the wolf's den. What was that article in the paper? Tourists torn apart in Central Park, supposedly by a stray pit bull. Maybe not. The werewolf spotted me, gave me a roguish grin, and took off running, with me in hot pursuit. He ran through the streets, trying to shake me, but I was able to keep up anyway. He finally disappeared inside a Catholic church. I followed him inside, where he stopped running and turned to face me. I'm here to be saved by Father Jonas. Why are you here, little bloodsucker? Saved? I laughed, a sarcastic sound. There's no cure for us. Not on heaven, in hell, on earth, my moon-cursed friend. Nothing to medical science or the metaphysical studies that I've heard of. He looked at me sideways. Father Jonas is looking for a cure. Herbs, prayers, other things too. Well, my furry friend, I snarked, judging by the way the papers say you turn to those tourists, it isn't working. He walked up to me, standing nose to nose. I didn't flinch or move an inch. I'm Darius Glenhara, and you are? Penny Lawrence, was all I said. Ah, I heard of you. Well, Penny Lawrence, when you are ready to be saved, come back here. Till then, you are warned. If I see you again following me, I'll claw you off your skin, bloodsucker. Pleased to meet you too, Dar. Does this mean we aren't going to fuck tonight? I turned and walked out. I just made a permanent enemy. But one thing stood on my mind that night as I sat near the sewer tearing apart rats. What? It's a nervous habit of mine. Could there be a cure? Well, in any event, I needed a change of scenery. Maybe a drive down to the Yucatan. I could eat my way through a sea of handsome Latin men and take in some snorkeling, too. You know, maybe feed the sharks. Penny Lawrence, final chapter, part 1. Okay, so maybe I shouldn't have been there. I mean, I knew the drug deals went down there, but I didn't know someone had dimed them out that night. The cops showed up in a sea of guns and blue uniforms. My friends scrambled. I did likewise. Cops wouldn't have accepted the fact that I was just sitting there, drunk on a bum's liquored up blood, chilling with my homies. I ran right into the business end of a cop's nightstick and dropped like a stone. I didn't know you could knock me out like that. Never too undead to learn something new. I woke up alone in the drunk tank. Guess my fingerprints and police record came up clean, considering I'm a murderer. Then I noticed the barred window behind me and panic set in. Sunlight, oh God, sunlight. The very window through which I was enjoying fresh air was going to come to bring in the killing rays come dawn. I looked around the cell for a mode of escape. Nothing. I had to get one of the guards to let me out, convince him to. Damn, I really sucked at blood magic seductions. Okay, what was it they did in the movies? Feign sickness. Okay, I can do that. Deputy, I'm sick. I think I'm gonna throw up. The voice shouted back. Throw up in your cell, you drunk bitch. Oh my, temper. Gonna like eating him. But I no longer left bodies lying around for everyone to find. I tried to dump them all in the Atlantic. Shark food, remember? I had to get the guard to open the cell, escort me outside, drive him to the ocean, let me drain him dry, and dump his body. Piece of cake. Hard, crumbly, sugarless cake. Feeling scared now. Please, I'm not drunk. I'm sick. Please help me. I waited for another nasty remark like druggie or whore, but there was silence. Not good. Then footsteps. Very good. But it wasn't the jail guard, it was a state trooper, a lieutenant. Well, so much the better. No raised eyebrows when he headed back out to the highway with me in tow. Guard's busy. What's all the fuss about? I smiled sweetly, but that was useless. I looked like a can of smashed assholes. It had to be all blood magic this time or die trying, literally. I stepped up to the bars with deliberation. He didn't back up. I need to get out of here before sunrise. Honeyed words tinged with suggestion, laced with seduction. The corners of his mouth began to turn up in a smile. You're not very good at this, are you? I blinked in surprise and confusion. At what, flirting? Not exactly, Mademoiselle Vampire. You just met your first ghoul. Didn't recognize me for what I was, but I recognized you. Felt the faintest stirrings of your control in my very flesh and bone. Could feel the prickles on my skin. Who controlled him? Was it a master, a friend, or a foe? The sunlight was no longer the greatest threat. So, what happens now? I asked sullenly. We leave. That was all he said as he took out the guard's keys and opened the cell door. I stepped through cautiously, thinking to myself that only a powerful vampire master would have a police lieutenant as a ghoul. A short time later, I was in his vehicle, sitting in the back behind the chicken wire separator. I sat back, frowning. Where are we headed? He didn't answer, and turned off the state highway. An hour later, we arrived at the large iron gates, with stone walls that apparently surrounded a building. Nice place. Who's my generous host? I tried again. Still no answer. I had begun to feel the first stirrings of the hunger, and also felt dawn not far behind. At the end of the long driveway, the car turned into a circular drive in front of an estate manor and stopped. The ghoul opened my door. I figured to run, now or never, but he gripped my upper arm, intending to halt my flight. I punched him in the head with my still-free left arm, and he did the same to me in the gut. With the wind knocked out, I doubled over, and he continued to pound me into the ground. Had I come all this way to end up his bloody punching bag? Then I blacked out. He, or someone, must have carried me inside, because when I woke, I was no longer on the cement in a pool of my own blood. My eyes opened in a darkened chamber, a single lit torch on the wall across the way. I was on a bed? The red vision was upon me. I leapt off and was caught by a collar around my neck, chained to a wall just above the headboard. I immediately fell back onto the mattress, choking and clawing at it. What the hell? And across the room, a deep voice said two words that chilled me to the bone. Feed her. Penny Lawrence, Final Chapter, Part 2. I hunched on the bed, crouched on all fours like an animal, swiveling my head back and forth, searching for a face in the darkness. The hated red vision had engulfed me completely. At that point I had no control, could not reason with myself any longer. I heard someone approach the bed, two someones, and I growled angrily, hungrily. A ghoul and a slave on a leash. The ghoul shoved the naked male slave to the bed and said one word, a very unnecessary word. Feed. I could have resisted if I wanted to. I'm certain you know what I mean. The ghoul held onto the leash, perhaps to pull the male away should I go too far and try to kill one of their stock animals. The slave sat on the edge of the bed. I leaned over from behind and savagely bit into him hard on the neck, tearing through flesh and nearly into the bone. It must have hurt like hell because the male cried out, though his neck showed scars from other encounters before me. I take no blame. It was not my fault that I had been trapped and was starving. After too short of a time, the leash was yanked, and the slave was removed from my lethal embrace. But it had done the trick. My mind had calmed sufficiently to make sense of the situation now. I sat back and waited, licking blood off my hands and fingers, where it had leaked all over me. With the new insanity that was about to befall me, I didn't have long to wait. Hello, Miss Lawrence. May I call you Penny? You may call me Dominic, or Dom, as my friends do. Why am I here, Dom? I asked calmly while dreaming of killing him. Right to the point, huh? I have heard so many things about you. They didn't do you justice. Vicious, wild, and beautiful. But then, I am biased. I am also very proud. I heard a chair being pushed back and boots clicking on the floor. Then the creature passed in front of me in a flickering torch. I had thought you were dead, he continued. I left for Europe these past few years. Pressing family business. When I returned, I was informed that you had survived. I have been watching you ever since, waiting for the opportunity to present itself, and you and I would meet again. He continued to approach. He was still using those same black leather boots I remembered from the alley that fateful day so long ago. So many years I can't remember anymore, but what is time to the timeless? Finally standing before me, I looked into the face of my sire. He was an elegant 13th generation vampire, not the marauding beast I'd envisioned, attacking me in an alley and leaving me for dead. His eyes were ice blue, shoulder-length hair, and handsome features. The face of an angel, I thought to myself. Those eyes were hard, though. He was a velvet glove over a steel fist. I had waited too long, and like you this evening, I was uncontrollable then. He circled the bed, striding like a god. I was enthralled, but then I felt the steel collar on my neck, and my face hardened. Release me, sire, I said, my words filled with venom. He actually laughed, the bastard, and said, Why, so you can leave or attempt to kill me? I think I'll take a pass on both. Besides, where would you go? You're home now, he said with such finality. Penny Lawrence, the conclusion. From here out, the story turns decidedly darker. I hope you're up for it. It wasn't the flickering light or the smell of the smoke from the torch sconces lining the walls. It was the drip, drip, drip that finally woke me. I looked around in confusion, then realized the sound was coming from my blood, hitting the cold stone floor. Okay, I could have handled the situation better. I know that now as I sat there, bleeding from my face, neck, and other places. My arms were strung up above me and chained to the wall, which I now rested against in a rat-infested dungeon that my 13th generation sire Dominic had given me. To be honest, I hadn't had much experience with male vampires. The only ones I knew were friends like Ryan de Leon. I didn't think they were all pussycats, mind you. I'm not stupid. We're all bloodthirsty murderers, after all. I killed more than I can remember. At one point, I thought of keeping a names list. Pathetic, not to mention the fact that I'd leave hard evidence for some savvy police detective. So I let the names go, but the faces haunt me from time to time. Well, you must have figured out I survived if I'm here to tell this tale, but shall I share the next pieces with you? Oh, why not? We've come this far together, and you're still with me. Besides, I've grown fond of you, my friends. This is your home now, he said matter-of-factly. Probably should have expected it, but didn't. He hadn't shown any interest in me these past years, so my response, not well thought out, was that of an angry, hurt child. Fuck you, who do you think you are? You don't own me, I said release me, now. I guess my insolence was no longer amusing. His face went blank, washed clean of all readable emotion. Then in one movement, swifter than even my eye could see, he was upon me. One hand firmly gripped around my collared throat, the other was, wedged painfully between my legs. He lifted me up with those two hands and threw me against the wall behind us. Hitting it, I rolled back onto the bed, and this time he climbed on top of me. His face, his eyes, the most frightening thing I'd ever seen before or since. I wanted to apologize. I wanted to bring tears to my eyes to garner sympathy, but knew there was no hope. He crushed me beneath his great weight as I pushed at him, and he growled and sliced into my neck with his teeth. The pain was blinding, white, hot, and furious. In that same moment of realization, he entered me. I jerked in pain. My neck and my flesh ached. He enjoyed it, I could tell. And I've never hated anything or anyone more than that moment when I hated my sire. He continued to drink from me and ride my body until he was well and truly finished. And by then my tears weren't fake. He withdrew from me, body, fang, and flesh, and stood before me triumphant, covered in my blood. He knew he had won that round, and would every round after that, so great was his strength. And all I could think of to say as he walked away, boots clicking on the floor, was the one thing I shouldn't have said to him. I will kill you. Not a good idea in a list of bad ideas this century. He turned on his heel, strode up to the bed, and slammed a fist into my skull. He let me lay there in that filthy, decadent 13th generation torture chamber of a dungeon until he was good and ready to bring me topside. Guess he thought I would be contrite. Me. Contrite. Wrong lady, dear sire. If the nightmare that had been my life and unlife to this point hadn't managed it, wasn't going to happen. I would kill him. It was only a matter of time. Now, it didn't matter that killing a 13th generation, or my own sire to boot, would have to, in effect, sign a contract on my own life for all eternity. I just wanted revenge, you see. I couldn't happen right away, though. I would have to lie there and bide my time, pretend like everything was right as rain. Maybe he would forget all about me if I kept to the shadows of the manor house. But he was relentless, and I had no peace. Had to do something, didn't I? And one fateful night, when he'd begun to believe I had accepted, even welcomed my new life, opportunity presented itself. Now, again, it's not an easy thing to kill a vampire, and it's even harder to kill an ancient one, so I had to time it well. The deed, and the escape. The only time we were alone was when he was taking me, but he never stayed with me, always leaving to return to the safety of his chambers, to sleep away the daylight hours. But this night, confident in his control over me, he stayed, and as I had planned for so long, a slow smile crept over my face. I had enjoyed myself that night, surprising even him. Nearing dawn, he grew exhausted from our efforts, and then at the moment he turned his head toward the wall to sleep, I withdrew a sharpened pencil from under my pillow. A pencil one of his oh-so-special ghouls dropped who knew how long ago, and I shoved it through and through, effectively impaling him through his skull. He never moved, never made a sound. I had very little time before dawn rose and threw on his clothes, pants, and those hated boots. And then in the hallway I raced along to the kitchen as if Satan himself were hot on my heels. Out the back entrance I intended to flee through my favorite place, the sewers. Sometimes it pays to be a sewer rat. The manor house drainage ran for about a mile from the estate and into a ditch. Truly a foul-smelling place. I waited out the sun nervously, begging for it to set, all the time looking over my shoulder in terror. Then, finally, blessed dusk came, and I climbed out, disappearing into the welcoming night. Prologue. I haven't felt safe since that night, and I know he survived. I can feel it in my bones. But I can't think about that now. At the moment, the Gulf of Mexico is nearby. The breezes are warm and sweet. And ever eat a Cabana Boy a la coconut sunscreen? I highly recommend it. And then don't forget, feed the sharks.